To decipher the volatile situation and help us understand what will happen next, we are joined by General VP Malik, former Chief of Army Staff, who led the Indian Army in the 1999 Kargil War. General Malik, thank you very much for joining us on Republic TV.
Thank you very much for asking me.
General Malik, it's established beyond doubt now that the Pakistan Army is behind the Pahalgam terror attack. My question to you then is, what now are the military options in front of India to put an end to Pakistan's support to non-state actors, sir?
Well, the effort is to put an end to the terrorist activities which have been launched by Pakistan for the last 35, 40 years now. And there have been so many terrorist activities, not only in J&K, but rest of India also, sponsored by the ISI through their terrorist organizations. And I want to remind you again that the ISI is part of the Pakistan Army. It's not a separate organization. And therefore, the finger goes straight to the Pakistan Army for all the activities that have been the cross-border activities that have taken place now and in the past also. The effort now comes after the kinetic action that we took place. We carried out post Uri raid on our army camp. What happened was the strike that we called on the other side. And also post Pulwama, we carried out the air raids on Balakot terrorist camp. Now, since those activities have not been adequate and the Pakistan continues to launch its terrorist activities as part of their strategies, we probably have to do a lot more. And that is why the cabinet decision has taken all the inclusive actions, all-inclusive actions against Pakistan, which means diplomatic, economic, and also the military. Now, we have seen in the recent past how the diplomatic and economic sanctions have unfolded, and everybody is waiting now for the military activity from our side. Incidentally, that has also started with the violation of ceasefire, which is going on the ceasefire line, as well as some part of international border. So that activity is already started. Now that the orders have been passed by the Cabinet Committee of Security headed by the Prime Minister to the armed forces recently, I suspect that at the moment the military is considering various options which are available to them. All three services, Army, Navy, Air Force, and this time whatever takes place will be a very coordinated activity among the three services. We have various options available to strike. All services have their contingency plan for such activities, both short-term as well as long-term. And they would be going over them, what are the areas where they can strike, whether they have got the right opportunity for striking those areas, the timings, the preparation that is required to do that, because that will also result in some kind of retaliation from the other side. So all those aspects are probably war gamed now, and at a suitable time, the timing has been left to the armed forces by the Prime Minister. At a suitable time, one can expect that they will be launched in a very coordinated fashion.
Right, sir.
And let's see when that happens and how it starts. But we have to be prepared for launching them, and we have to be prepared for some kind of retaliation also from the other side also.
Right, sir. General Malik, you led the army in the 1999 Kargil conflict. If you were the Chief of Army Staff right now, what would be your first priority? If you began the operations, what would be your first priority, sir?
I would like to hit them so hard that there is some kind of a strategic imbalance that takes place on the other side, both politically as well as militarily. So whatever we do now, if it results in a strategic imbalance, then we can, the task further, and the intention that has been given to us by the political authority, what we call the political aim, then it is easier to achieve. So I would look for all kinds of targets, both by land, by air, and by sea, and try and strike in such a manner that it causes heavy damage and it creates some kind of a strategic imbalance on the other side.
So there's already been, firing, as you rightly said, has already started across the Yellow Sea. How likely is it that a conflict, if it starts, may escalate into a full-scale war?
There is always a chance because, when you start a war activity or even for a limited war, there is always a chance of its escalation. Now, escalation can be slow, it can be fast also. That can, and we should expect that. And for that, if we want to keep it limited, then we have to make sure that certain other aspects are also taken into account. Then every step that we take, kinetic step that we take, it has to be monitored very carefully in the cabinet so that any political activity, diplomatic activity, whatever is required, then we should be able to make use of that to check escalation or to control escalation. And so that controlling of escalation these days has become important. And those decisions can only be taken not by the forces alone, but they have to be taken in an all-inclusive manner in the Cabinet Committee of Security. Also, it is important that some kind of a communication with the adversary is carried out or takes place. That is, even today it is happening because, as you would have noticed that yesterday, I think the DGMOs on both sides were in communication regarding the firing that is taking place on ceasefire. Even during Kargil war, if you recall, we had kept the communication from DGMO to DGMO intact, beside the whatever happens at the political level. So it is possible for it to escalate to a conventional war. But if we want to check it, then there are certain steps, certain measures which have to be taken.
Okay. There's always this threat of a nuclear war that Pakistan often likes to use probably as a counter or a threat when some kind of an action is going on. How real is the nuclear threat, sir?
Look, there has always been a lot of loose talk in Pakistan, particularly by their political leaders, sometimes even by the military leaders. And it's a very irresponsible act, if I can use that, because the whole world is watching that. And what we have seen, even during Kargil war, while we were prepared for kinetic activity, we were even prepared for a conventional war, but we were quite confident that Pakistan would not like to indulge in something like that, because they should realize that if they have got nuclear weapons, we also have nuclear weapons. And if we strike back, the damage will not only be on one city or two cities, I think the whole of Pakistan will suffer.
Right.
And that is the deterrence which is there in place.
Sir Malik, in light of the current geopolitical situation wherein we have Trump's tariffs which have already cornered China, how likely is it that Pakistan's so-called all-weather friend China may join or could in some way help or assist Pakistan if a military action is taken by India?
Good question. China would try to help them in terms of intelligence, in terms of defense wherewithal. But I believe that it will not be in their interest to start another front and to carry out some kind of violent activities along the line of actual control. China has realized that it cannot keep us on the have that frozen relation that happened after 2020. It is not in their interest, nor it is in our interest. And that is why the recent rapprochement that we have seen between India and China, and that is why that cooling off has taken place. While we have to remain alert, no doubt about it, we just can't remove our forces. We cannot be complacent on that front. But my own view is that besides giving the help that I have indicated earlier in United Nations, in diplomacy, giving them some intelligence, some wherewithal, I don't think they would want to open another front for this at this time.
Okay. Turkey seems to be another option that seems to be popping up for Pakistan, sir. How is that playing up?
What option did you say?
Turkey.
Turkey, yes. Again, Turkey, they can give them wherewithal. I don't think they have much of intelligence on our side from us to give them. But wherewithal, yes, they can give them drones, in which Turkey has really specialized in the recent years. And that kind of help, as well as in diplomatic areas, we can expect them to give that help.
Okay. General Malik, you led the army in 1999 Kargil conflict. And the Pakistan of 1999 and the Pakistan of 2024, what has really changed internally within Pakistan in terms of its army's stature within the country?
Look, it's not only the Pakistan army which has changed, which has become more jihadi in its outlook. The whole of Pakistan. You see, the kind of school books that they have, the generation which has now come in the last 25 or 30 years, you would notice that they have been fed on jihadism as well as anti-India approach. So they have grown up with that. Now, Pakistan Army has always been encouraging the jihadi elements like Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba kind of outfits. So that has been going on. Then the post-Zia generation in the Pakistan Army has always believed more in Islamization, and I would say that they are comparatively more radicalized than the earlier generation that we saw earlier. Mm-hmm. So there is a whole change that has taken place in the Pakistani outlook as far as India is concerned, and what really counts today is the Pakistani military outlook. Mm-hmm. And that is the kind of language that you heard from Asim Munir just recently.
Yes.
You know, the kind of language about anti-Indian and Hindu and Muslim and two-nation theory, etc. Mm-hmm. Now, that kind of a language was never used earlier by the Pakistani military leaders in public. But this time, you notice that it is now being made public again and again. Mm-hmm. So that is encouraging the rogue elements which they have on the other side. Mm-hmm. So Pakistan Army, I'm afraid, has become more rogue than it ever was in the past.
General Malik, it's established beyond doubt now that the Pakistan Army is behind the Pahalgam terror attack. My question to you then is, two very obvious reactions rather when an attack like this takes place is, as a common Indian, you end up thinking we should just, end the Kashmir issue once and for all. What, according to you, as an experienced military general, is a permanent solution for Kashmir? Could there be a permanent solution for Kashmir?
Look, the permanent solution has to start with our annexing Pakistan-occupied Kashmir.
Right.
That is our right, and that is what we have been claiming in the parliament also. So that is one aspect that we have to, whether that will take place, how soon that can take place, that cannot be really discussed at this time. But other solution is the Pakistan Army. How can we ensure that Pakistan Army starts obeying its political leadership and doesn't behave the other way around as they are doing today? I do believe that Pakistan Army, for its own interest, wants to carry on confrontation with India. And the primary reason that they are indicating is Kashmir. So if we have to stop this activity, cross-border terrorism, or interference in our Kashmir frequently, then I'm afraid Pakistan political authorities, they have to have a greater control on their army. and which doesn't seem to be happening again in the near future.
So what can we expect in terms of POK? I mean, in terms of military action, what will really unfold if India decides to really take on POK? That's a common question as an Indian citizen that I want to know from you, sir.
Look, I would not like to give any targets. Okay, that will not be correct. But I can tell you that yes, there is a lot that we can do. We have our contingency plans, whether we do it on land, that can be inside POK, or it can be even outside when you want to put pressure. Today, the pressure is not only on terrorists, our pressure has to be on the Pakistani military. And for Pakistani public to realize that because of Pakistani army, we are having to do this kind of action. And it is not only restricted to, as I said, it is an all-inclusive approach as far as the armed forces are concerned. So we can hit them with the Air Force anywhere in Pakistan. And we can also make use of our Navy to carry out strike against certain selected targets. But as I said, when we do all that, we have to be prepared for some kind of a retaliation, and we have to be prepared for escalation control also.
So I want to bring you back to Kashmir. Now, the kind of attack that has taken place, the first ever on tourists in the recent past, in fact, it has jeopardized the booming tourism industry and probable normalcy that was returning to the Kashmir Valley. What will the Indian establishment have to do to probably convey back to everybody here that no, Kashmir is indeed safe and you can actually go back to Kashmir as tourists? What will we have to do?
No, first thing, there is some good result also after this unfortunate incident, and that good result you can see from the public outcry in Kashmir by the Kashmiris also. You heard what Omar Abdullah said in the assembly recently. Now that's a very encouraging statement that he gave. Similarly, you find a lot of people in Kashmir have realized that it has hurt them much more than it can hurt the rest of India, economically, socially, and that is the kind of voice that you are hearing from Kashmir. That's a positive result after this very unfortunate incident, horrific incident that has taken place. But we have to also look at the protective measures, whether unified command has been functioning properly or not. We have that unified command. It is their responsibility to ensure that law and order situation is kept under control. And if there has been some lapses, whether it is in terms of intelligence, in terms of infiltration that has taken place, all those will have to be investigated, and they will have to be corrected wherever they have. If our fencing along the border has not been so effective, then we should also be looking at it, why it has not been effective. If our guarding the LOC and the international border has not been effective, we have to look into that also. And there can be some other routes also. We have to look into the overground workers which are there. And there is a lot of activity now taking place against the overground workers, the financing part of it. So all those aspects have to be looked into as far as protective measures are concerned. And we have to encourage the economic activity only through giving them proper, telling them that there is now proper protection which will be there. And I have no doubt that it might take a little time, but our Indian public will go back to Kashmir, slowly. It might again, it is a small break, but it will go back to, after all, it is part of India, and they would like to see that part of India also.
Wonderful, sir. One concluding question is, so in that case, can we really expect a bigger than Balakot, bigger than Uri kind of response this time?
To my mind, it has to be that way. It has to be a strong. Otherwise, it will not have any effect. Like Balakot did not have any effect over, after some time. I mean, so therefore, whatever we do, it must be long-lasting. And that is why I said that whatever we do, whatever strikes we do, whatever kinetic activity we indulge in today, it has to be strong, and it should create some kind of a strategic imbalance on the other side. And that is how we should choose our targets.
Wonderful. General Malik, thank you very much for joining us. It is on shoulders of generals like you that our hopes are pinned, sir. Thank you very much, and we'll keep coming back to you as the equation further unfolds. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.